Hello and welcome to today's news update, bringing you the latest developments from across Nigeria. In this broadcast, we cover a range of topics, from the country's booming oil industry to monetary policy changes, from a controversial high-profile wedding to tragic industrial accidents, and the ongoing efforts of the government to address fiscal challenges and security concerns. Sit back and listen as we take a comprehensive look at what's shaping Nigeria today. From economic reforms to social controversies, there is a lot happening, and we'll explore each story in detail. Let's begin with developments in Nigeria's energy sector. Nigeria continues to hold a key position as one of Africa's largest oil producers. Today, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company announced plans to begin exporting a new crude oil grade called Cawthorne, starting in March 2026. This development is significant for several reasons. The Cawthorne grade is expected to be lighter and of higher quality than some of Nigeria's existing crude exports, making it more attractive on the international market. Analysts suggest that the new exports could increase the country's oil output beyond the limits currently set by the OPEC Plus production agreements, potentially boosting national revenues and strengthening Nigeria's position in the global energy market. Nigeria has long relied on oil as a major source of revenue, contributing significantly to federal, state, and local government budgets. With global oil prices remaining relatively high due to persistent geopolitical tensions and supply constraints in other parts of the world, the timing of this new export could not be better. Economists argue that higher oil revenues will support government spending on infrastructure, healthcare, education, and other essential public services. This move also comes at a time when Nigeria is seeking to diversify its economy, with hopes that increased oil revenue can provide funding for investment in non-oil sectors, including agriculture, technology, and manufacturing. However, while the Cawthorne crude export promises economic benefits, it also presents challenges. Environmental advocates and community groups have expressed concerns about increased oil exploration and production, particularly in the Niger Delta region. Historically, environmental degradation and pollution have affected local communities, leading to disputes and protests. The government and the Nigeria National Petroleum Company have stated that strict environmental standards will be applied to minimize the impact on the region. Monitoring and enforcement will be key to ensuring that these promises are met and that local communities are protected while the country benefits economically. In financial news, the Central Bank of Nigeria recently made a surprising decision to cut its key interest rate by 50 basis points, reducing it to 26.50%. This marks a significant shift in monetary policy, as interest rates in Nigeria have historically been high to combat persistent inflation. The rate cut signals that the central bank sees evidence of easing inflation pressures and is optimistic about the stability of prices in the coming months. Lower interest rates can have a profound impact on the economy. By making borrowing cheaper, the central bank hopes to stimulate investment by businesses and encourage consumer spending. Small and medium-sized enterprises, in particular, may benefit from easier access to credit, allowing them to expand operations, hire more workers, and contribute to economic growth. Analysts believe that the timing of this rate cut could also attract foreign investment. As investors often look for economies with stable interest rates and clear monetary policies. However, some experts caution that the effect of a rate cut may not be immediate. Nigeria faces structural challenges, including high unemployment, energy shortages, and infrastructural deficits, which may limit the impact of lower borrowing costs. Additionally, global economic uncertainty, fluctuating oil prices, and foreign exchange pressures could influence domestic markets. Nonetheless, many Nigerians have welcomed the decision, seeing it as a positive step toward revitalizing the economy and encouraging growth in key sectors. A high-profile event has also sparked public outrage across Nigeria. A lavish multi-day wedding hosted by the defense minister in Abuja has become the subject of intense scrutiny and criticism. The event was attended by top political elites, business leaders, and prominent social figures. And reports suggest the celebration was extravagant in both scale and cost. The controversy stems from the timing and optics of the wedding. While Nigerians continue to face insecurity in several states, including violent attacks and kidnappings, the lavish celebration has been seen as tone-deaf and disconnected from the realities faced by ordinary citizens. Social media has been flooded with reactions, with many questioning how such a lavish event could take place amid ongoing national security challenges. Critics argue that the government and political elites need to prioritize the safety and welfare of citizens over personal celebrations. Others point out that such events highlight the stark contrast between the lives of the wealthy and those struggling to meet basic needs. The Defense Ministry has not released a detailed statement addressing the criticism. But observers note that public perception and social sentiment can significantly impact political capital, especially as elections and policy decisions approach. On a tragic note, Nigeria is mourning the loss of lives following a toxic gas leak at a mining site in Plateau State. The incident claimed at least 37 lives and left dozens more injured. Authorities responded swiftly by shutting down the mine and launching a full investigation into the cause of the leak. Preliminary reports suggest that safety protocols may not have been fully followed, raising questions about regulatory oversight and enforcement in the mining sector. Industrial accidents such as this gas leak are unfortunately not uncommon in Nigeria, where rapid industrial growth has sometimes outpaced the implementation of safety standards. The government has vowed to hold the operators accountable and to ensure that stricter safety measures are implemented to prevent future tragedies. For families and communities affected by the incident, the consequences are devastating. Experts emphasize that investments in safety infrastructure, proper training, and regulatory enforcement are critical to prevent similar incidents in the future. In addition to these events, the Nigerian government has taken steps to improve fiscal management. President Tinubu recently directed that all oil and gas revenues be deposited directly into the Federation account, a measure intended to streamline government finances and reduce bottlenecks in revenue allocation. This policy aims to ensure that federal, state, and local governments have consistent access to funds, supporting public services and development projects across the country. While the policy is broadly welcomed by economists and public finance experts, implementation will be key. Ensuring transparency, accountability, and proper allocation of funds will determine whether this reform achieves its intended outcomes. By centralizing revenue management, the government hopes to reduce fiscal mismanagement and improve service delivery nationwide. Nigeria faces a unique set of challenges at this time. On one hand, the economy is showing signs of promise, with increased oil production, favorable monetary policy, and fiscal reforms providing potential for growth. On the other hand, security concerns, industrial accidents, and public dissatisfaction with political elites continue to pose significant obstacles. Balancing these competing priorities will be critical for the government as it navigates the coming months. Citizens, investors, and international observers are all watching closely. For ordinary Nigerians, the hope is that increased oil revenues and lower interest rates translate into tangible improvements in daily life, including better infrastructure, more job opportunities, and greater economic stability. For investors, the new crude exports and a more accommodative monetary policy may present opportunities for growth and engagement in Nigeria's expanding markets. The controversial wedding and ongoing security concerns serve as reminders that governance, public perception, and policy implementation are deeply interconnected. Citizens are increasingly vocal about expectations for accountability and ethical leadership, and social media has amplified the public's voice on these issues. Political leaders will need to carefully consider these perspectives as they make decisions that affect the entire country. Meanwhile, communities affected by the Plateau State gas leak are calling for justice and support. Relief efforts are underway, but the tragedy highlights broader challenges in industrial safety and emergency preparedness. Experts emphasize that investments in safety infrastructure, proper training, and regulatory enforcement are critical to prevent similar incidents in the future. As we reflect on these developments, it is clear that Nigeria is at a crossroads. The country possesses vast natural resources, a young and dynamic population, and a strategic position in the global economy. Yet it also faces complex challenges that require thoughtful policy, strong governance, and active citizen engagement. Economic reforms such as the introduction of the cotton crude export, the interest rate cut, and the centralization of oil revenues represent steps toward harnessing Nigeria's potential, but they must be implemented alongside effective measures to address security, public welfare, and industrial safety. In conclusion, Nigeria's news landscape today is a mix of promise, controversy, and tragedy. The oil sector shows potential for economic growth, the central bank's policy adjustments aim to stimulate investment, and fiscal reforms are designed to improve government finances. At the same time, lavish political celebrations, industrial accidents, and ongoing security concerns remind us of the complex realities facing the nation. As Nigerians, citizens, and observers, it is essential to stay informed, engage thoughtfully, and hold institutions accountable. Only through a combination of economic foresight, ethical governance, and community vigilance can Nigeria continue on a path towards sustainable growth and social stability. That wraps up today's comprehensive news update. Stay tuned for more updates from across Nigeria as we continue to bring you the stories that matter most. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to keeping you informed in the days ahead.